Welcome back, everyone, to the Charismatic Voice. I'm here today with Phil Freeman, a.k.a.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Right, the Grinch. Thank you, Phil. Thank you for joining.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, thank you for having me, Elizabeth. This is awesome. This has been a long time in the making. I think we've been back and forth for at least a year and a half, if not more.
Yep.
I felt so bad. There was you sent me an email about a year ago saying, "Hey, I want to interview you," and I never got back to you. I missed it completely, and I got back to you like a couple months later. Like, I'm so sorry.
What happened that made it so difficult? I figured, let's dive into that.
I mean, well, yeah, absolutely. I think you can relate to this. My wife and I were pregnant with our first child, so and it was the third trimester, and it was in the throes of Grinch season. So I do apologize.
Oh, you're totally fine. I just completely understand, completely relate, and I know when we were starting to get this organized again. Yeah. I was at the end and then had little Mycroft and we were back and forth and like with months between emails.
I'm so glad we were able to make it work out though. You know,
Same.
Better late than never.
Right, so. Right. And I'm very happy that our wee ones have allowed us to talk now. Indeed.
Right? Yes.
Right. I feel like we might hear a couple of hollers from nearby at some point.
Likewise, it's highly likely that you'll hear one or two little babas or mamas out in the distance. So, yes.
Yeah, I think there's always like a negotiation, like you were talking about earlier, a negotiation with a partner or perhaps a babysitter of, okay, so I really want to do an interview at this time. Is there any chance that you could watch the kiddo? Right?
Right. Google Calendar is, I mean, let alone running a business, running your life. That is God, as far as I'm concerned. Just blocking out everything.
I totally relate. I've been using Teams for the Charismatic Voice and then for also scheduling of the public-facing events. And now there's an entire personal calendar that's on Teams. So anytime I schedule something, I add Kirk to it so he knows that for that hour, he has to be available.
You sound like my wife and I. We do exactly that for so many things. Yeah. So.
Well, I'm sure. I'm not sure, but I'm guessing that caffeine has a part to play in your life these days. Tea or coffee?
Today, I am drinking this lovely blend of chamomile that some dear friend of mine sent me. In the mail. So thank you, Elizabeth, for that. I'm going to cheers you in that regard. Cheers. To tea time.
Tea time, right? Oh, man. I love tea.
It's so good. That company is amazing.
Right? Yeah. It's Upton Tea is like one of my favorite tea companies. And they don't pay me to say this at all.
There's a lot of products like that for me where it's like they're not paying me. I just love it. So
yeah, exactly.
It would be fun if they did. But
right. At one point we started to go down that route and then we thought, that's a lot of extra time. I'd rather just get the good tea to somebody and then we can talk about how good it is without feeling obligated.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just like, it's just buy this.
Right.
I love it. It's amazing.
Right. And it's a very nice mug you've got there as well.
Right. Yeah. Yes. This is a Small Town Titans mug. Shameless plug. This is the band that I'm a part of. This is the reason I believe that you were introduced to the band was because of our cover of your A Mean One, Mr. Grinch. Hence the Grinch hat.
Yeah, of course. So. I mean, representing the mad draw. That was a stunning performance.
Thank you.
You're a foul one, Mr. Grinch. You're a nasty skunk. Your heart is full of unwashed socks and your soul is full of gunk, Mr. Grinch. The three best words I would use to describe you are as follows, and I quote, Stag! Stag! Stag!
Did you have any idea when you did it that it would blow up?
excellent question. Yes and no. Let's put it that way. So to give you a bit, and everyone watching this, a bit of background, we had been together as a band since we formed in college and had been playing, locally, regionally, creating a following in central Pennsylvania. Ended up going on a tour for about a year and a half off and on and getting our feet wet in that regard, only getting like $50 for gas money to get to the next town and, playing in front of 5 people, on a Tuesday night in Indianapolis and being super pumped that we made $100 in merchandise. It's like, yes, we can get home to the next town. Yes. We got another tank of gas. Well, and then, we decided to change our strategy a little bit and record an EP live off the floor of a studio that was based out of Eastern Pennsylvania. Kevin Sofera, he's a session drummer. He's an amazing guy and is best known for touring with Seether for a while and also was touring with Breaking Benjamin in the early 2000s, and then decided to become a producer as well and do session drumming, which is great. And he was an excellent person to work with, and he helped us record that. And then we worked with a production company called Springwood Productions. They did a fantastic job, and they recorded 6 videos for us while we recorded 6 songs. And one of those songs was You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. So, and the way that came about, our current business manager, had started working with us. And he said, you should do a Christmas cover. And we said, you know what? We actually have done a Christmas cover before. We had done You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch at a rock and roll. It was for 105.7 The X. That's a radio station based out of our area. We did that rendition for a Christmas party concert. I believe Tantric was playing that night, and we were opening for them and a few other bands. And we decided to pull that back out, refresh it a little bit, add a few bells and whistles arrangement-wise, and then we went into the studio and recorded it. And Jess at Springwood Productions had some excellent lighting choices for the atmosphere, and it was it was fun. And then we released it Black Friday of 2017. We got some excellent feedback from that, and then for whatever reason, the next year, 2018, it went viral, and it went viral beyond what we ever anticipated. And the coolest thing about it was because of how much exposure it got and how much people loved it, people stuck around for the rest of the stuff that we had built up over the years that we had been together as a band. So
Sweet.
all of the albums that we had recorded up to that point, all of the original material, all of the covers, everything that we've done as a band, people stuck around. A significant amount of people stuck around and have been fanatics ever since. It's amazing.
Good.
And it's really cool to see them, join the circle. We have an amazing family of fans here in central Pennsylvania that have been there since the beginning. And it's been quite the journey for us as a band. We've been through a lot, ups and downs, good, bad, and ugly, and releasing Grinch and having that be a perpetual seasonal hit,
right,
is a win. It's a win for us every season. So we're very thankful. We're very thankful for that, and we really had no idea it was going to get to the level that it did. So it's pretty fun.
How much of that that propulsion in 2018 do you think was due to reaction videos? Was that at all reaction videos at that time, or was it something
It keeps
else?
it going. It keeps it going. For whatever reason, in when it initially took off, it was word of mouth or just sharing on social media, mostly Facebook. And then all of a sudden, 2019, 2020, 2021, all of these reaction videos occurred. And that's when we came across yours. And I was really impressed with the breakdown. I loved, and thank you. You were very kind, and it was very cool to see that.
It's honest.
A weird,
I just had to be honest. Was all.
That's amazing. You know, so I take that to heart. You know, and it was really cool to see someone get, you know, technical about it. And I love seeing that. Being a voice instructor myself, I always enjoy like the technicality of things and you know, picking things out. So I really appreciated that. We all did. All of us did.
Oh, good.
So
good. I think it's so fascinating to see how this sort of niche of reaction videos, at least on our end, has become basically analysis videos more than reaction in many ways. Yeah. But this trend exploded.
Yes.
And there was a lot of concern, especially I think in the beginning, saying, hey, like, are these reactors, are they stealing the music and making it so the bands aren't getting a cut? And we're now talking with so many different bands and labels and PR, and the entire landscape has shifted because it's become one of the main ways that people discover music. So the question, I think it still is pertinent. Can a person watch a reaction and get the same experience as just watching the full thing on your channel? In some cases, maybe they can. I know in my case, I'm very deliberate about stopping, going back and analyzing and telling people to go see the real thing. So we know that we don't take away any money and hopefully are actually driving traffic and funds to artists.
As far as, I've always felt that way about reaction videos. As far as I'm concerned, have at it, because that's, you're getting the word out there about what we're doing. You know, it's as far as like us making revenue or whatever that is, we've got that handled, you know, and it's, and that's driving traffic to what we're doing, and so that way people can find out about our music. You're doing us a service by doing that. All of you doing the reactions are doing all of us a service by doing that. It's amazing.
So everyone out there that's thinking about doing a Grinch reaction this Christmas, go for it. Do it. You'll love it. Good. Yeah, it was so fun because I was looking for something that was holiday themed, and people kept mentioning this song. And we take a lot of pride in listening to our audience and saying, hey, what do you want to hear? And this kept coming up. And I thought, well, sure, I'll give it a shot. And I was like, oh, this is perfect.
Great. It was so much fun to record. It's so much fun to play live too, because you know, and for a while we were throwing around the argument that maybe we should, you know, hold off on playing it during the summer and during the other seasons because we don't want to be known as the Grinch band. But it is what it is.
Conversation happening.
It's brought us to the dance though, and we have to give it the respect it deserves. And this summer we were just like, because we had a major festival appearance, a few festival appearances this summer, and we just decided, you know what? The people want it. Let's give the people what they want. Let's give them Grinch, you know? Let's not leave them hanging. So
good.
So, yes.
I love that. Well, okay. Let's go back a little bit. Let's kind of get your background, your history. I like that we got to how we met in quotations. Yes. But so Central Pennsylvania, is that where you were born?
Yes. So I was born in a county called York County, Pennsylvania. That's York. You know, when people ask me, "Oh, where are you from?" I say York, and they're like, "Oh, New York." I'm like, "No, York, PA." It's the second capital of the United States. Philadelphia is the first. So that's a little tidbit of information for people who are history buffs. So it's a tiny town. There's three towns. There's York, Harrisburg, Lancaster. So Harrisburg's in the north, Lancaster's to the east, and we're sitting west of those two towns, southwest from Harrisburg. So it's a little triangle area. It's a very cool little hub. It's about an hour and a half west of Philadelphia, an hour north from Baltimore, about 2.5 hours from Pittsburgh, and 5 hours from New York City. So
Okay.
it's cool.
So I lived in Philadelphia for a while.
Wow.
When I was at
Nice.
Curtis for a while, and that's where I got my education, like for opera. And
Cool.
there was an amazing sort of farmer's market that would often get fresh items from, I think it was from York, Lancaster. I want to say that we were getting like some of the Amish bakery items and the yogurt. Is this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So yes, let's talk about this for a second. There is a house that is being built right behind our house that there's 4 young Amish gentlemen who are building this house. They have built this entire house in 3 days. It is insane between the 4 of them. They have a superpower. The Amish have the superpower of building things in a day. It's incredible.
Oh my gosh! I want to hire someone.
Yeah, I know, right? Like hire the Amish. If you have Amish folk living in your area, hire them for construction because they're incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And we have some amazing food in this area, some amazing markets. There's markets all over the place. York has one. Lancaster has one. Mm-hmm. And by the way, you might be wondering why I'm saying Lancaster rather than Lancaster. For whatever reason, in this area, we add a silent G between the N and the C. So it's Lancaster.
Lancaster.
Lancaster. Yeah.
Lancaster.
It's weird.
Well,
yeah,
it's not that weird. You kind of do that when you're in, sorry. I used to do that when singing Italian as well. Where the N becomes, the point of contact goes further back in the mouth instead of being N, in the same way that it becomes like sing and NG becomes like a ng, Lancaster. Yeah. So I'm not surprised that it doesn't even sound like there's a G in there. It just sounds like you're using that point of contact. I think it's like a VR point of contact.
Right. Yeah. So it's a very German area. Lots of German in there. So yeah, it's a very Dutch area too. So
that makes sense too.
There's definitely some phonetics that could explain at least epistemology, if you will, of phonetics from the area stemming from language. Absolutely. So
but that's fun.
Yeah, there's some interesting dialects here in this area too.
I bet. But oh my goodness, are there amazing cinnamon rolls?
Amazing cinnamon rolls. There's a place called Maple Donuts that has like the best donuts in the entire world.
No
I am such
way.
a stickler for donuts. Any like Long Johns with cream filling or like Boston creams. Like there's no other place that I'll go and be satisfied unless I go to Maple Donuts or a place that sells Maple Donuts. If they kept, on the way to your location, I would send you a bunch of Maple Donuts like right now because it's worth it. It is so worth it.
That was one of the things I craved while pregnant was donuts. Yeah. But I just have not found my donut spot in Tucson. I found my donut spot back in LA. I had a great one. It's called Sidecar Donuts, by the way, for anybody who lives in the LA area.
Right.
There's a couple different branches now. But for a maple bar is what I would call that, right? I don't know that Sidecars was like the go-to for that. I haven't found the most amazing maple bar ever, so I'm gonna have to check this out.
Yeah, please. Next time you're in Pennsylvania, please check out Maple Donuts.
Oh,
check out Maple Donuts.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
okay, perfect.
It's incredible.
So you grew up where the delicious food was plentiful.
Yes, delicious food is plentiful. The Amish are badass, and life is grand here. I've lived in this area. I've traveled many places, but I love. Some people they talk about moving. They have to move to the big city in order to do things. I've always had this thing in my mind, and maybe this is just an insecurity coming out or a weakness, but I don't see it that way. I don't perceive it that way. I love this being my anchor. This is my anchor. This keeps me grounded. Staying in this area. I love this area. I think it's beautiful. And I love the people here in Central PA. And it with all the traveling that I do with Small Town Titans, all the traveling that I've done for other endeavors, it keeps me grounded. And I love that. It just provides an anchor for me. And yeah. So.
I think artists need an anchor.
Of some kind, whatever that is.
It's amazing. You're essentially when you're an artist expressing emotion, because that's, what I think art is meant to do, is express emotion, express creativity, channel it in some way.
Mm-hmm.
You're, I think, essentially working on building up that emotion and increasing, enhancing it. And if things get out of whack, I feel like that emotion can kind of just rattle around and throw you off.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing that you mentioned that, Elizabeth, because I talk to my vocal students about emotion all the time. I literally say, when you are dealing with emotion, you are dealing with nuclear fission, because that is some powerful stuff. If you go overboard with the emotion, you can hurt yourself vocally. But if you don't have enough emotion, you just have mechanics and you sound robotic. So you have to have emotion. You have to have emotion. And then I have other things that I tell them, on top of that, all the things that I teach my kids and my adults and whoever, and my pros and, everybody in between. But,
I'm excited to talk about that.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh. But yeah, the key thing is that you want to respect emotion, because if you don't, it can take you places that you don't want to go.
That's so true. And then if you have that anchor, it helps you. I think it helps you keep that emotion grounded and healthy.
Absolutely. I completely agree. It is, having my family here, having my location here is not just an anchor for my music and my professional life, but also for my personal life as well. It's just, it may not work for some people. Some people might have to move to the big city, and more power to them. Absolutely. Do what you feel compelled to do. I feel compelled to have this be my anchor. So
that's so awesome. I love that you have so much surety in that too, because that makes it much, much stronger as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, then that answered the question of why have you stayed there, and boom, it's your anchor. You've got it.
Yes.
Right. So, you ended up going to college, and I think it was, am I correct? It was in college that you met some of your Small Town Titan bandmates?
Yes. So here's the track record of Small Town Titans. Okay. We all met in at Lebanon Valley College. Johnny and I went through the same program, the music business program. I was crazy. I graduated with 2 degrees, one in digital communications and music business, and melded the two together. I probably have enough credits for a master's degree, but
that's smart though.
Yeah.
That's a great combo.
It felt stupid at the time because of the lack of sleep that I got, and not much has changed, as far as the sleep is concerned. I try.
I know you're a parent.
I try, right? Yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah. So we met in college. Johnny and I had played, I had been doing solo shows. I did a lot of Americana folk rock stuff. We were in the same fraternity, Phi Mu Alpha Sinfonia, the music fraternity at the college. So, if there's any symphonians out there, all hail. So, sorry, shameless plug.
No, great call out.
Right? Yeah, right. We're just a bunch of nerds. Don't let anybody think. It's Mr. Rogers was an honorary member, just to give you an idea of who and what Sinfonia is. It's a great fraternity. I'm very proud to be part of that organization and an alumnus. So Johnny and I are part of the same fraternity, and I knew of Ben. He was an incredible football player for Lebanon Valley, and he was in another band. And it's funny, Johnny and Ben had jammed before, 3 years before we got together as a band, and it's hilarious. Johnny asked Ben, "Hey man, do you want to be in a band?" After they had this amazing jam session, and Ben was like, "No." So, it's I want to focus on school and football. So sorry, dude. And so, Johnny was bummed. And then 3 years later, Johnny asks Ben again, "Hey, dude, you want to be in a band since your band is breaking up?" And he's like, I don't know, maybe. And then he's like, "Phil Freeman's singing." Phil Freeman, dude, that guy does folk and Americana, but okay, he has a great voice. Let's go. So we get him from. I mean, that's his words, not mine. So I'm not trying to do,
accurate. Accurate. No.
So, and we got in a room. There was another guy that was a part of the band at the time. We actually started as a 5-piece and went through a few lineup changes. So, and we started jamming. We had something. We started playing shows locally, opening up for different, rock cover bands. I think one of our first shows was for an AC/DC cover band. We got $50 and some wacky tobacco, I believe. So, you know, it is what it is. You start from the bottom and go. So, and our very first show, I believe, was at a place called the Dragonfly, which if we get to that, like, you know, more about that, we'll get to that later. If not, it's all good. But it was May 31st of 2011. And I think Ben at the time, he was still underage. So like he had a fake ID and we had to call him Joe all night. Joe Schaefer. That's what it was. So, but that place is closed. You know, I think statute of limitations is, you know, well past its point for that BS. So, that's how we played that show, you know.
The things you do for music.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man. The war stories, I'll tell you what. But as I'm sure every single artist can relate to, with like, yeah. It's like it's a constant like one-up session. It's like, well, this is what happened to me. Well, this is what happened to me. Where did you get to the moon? Well, I walked on the moon, dude. If you ever seen that Brian Regan.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But that sounds... I could see that.
Yeah, so like we just kept playing shows regionally, and you know, we started out doing a lot of covers, you know, playing the bar gigs, you know, the three 45-minute sets, mostly covers, throwing in original here and there. And we started growing a following. We started opening up for bands, you know, and you know, unfortunately, in the first 2 years, like we did have some personnel changes, and those changes were we went from a 5-piece to a 4-piece to a 3-piece. And without going into major detail, there was a time where I had to choose whether or not we were going to play with a bassist or without a bassist. And I dabbled with a bass. I had a bass at home, and we had a gig coming up, and we hadn't heard from the person that was playing bass for us at the time. You know, he had disappeared. So we were just like, okay, what do we do? I guess I'm playing bass tonight. And that's when we started our life as a 3-piece. And that was 8 years ago. And
oh my gosh.
And we tried, you know, subbing people in, and we had a great time. And, you know, all well wishes to that previous bass player. He was a good dude, and I wish him well. But it was a situation where we had to choose, and we decided to, you know, stick with this 3-piece. Yeah. And you know, we were very appreciative of all the guys that subbed, you know, while we were still figuring it out. But I remember having a conversation with the guys, and I was just like, listen, 3-piece. I've always wanted to be in a 3-piece. I wanted to be in a 3-piece since middle school. I came up with this freaking name in middle school when I wanted to be in that 3-piece. Let's go. So Ben was all for it.
Wait, you came
Johnny,
up with the name in middle
I came up with the name in middle school after watching Remember the Titans. Denzel Washington is a badass. That movie is a badass. Ryan Gosling, before he was a stud muffin, you know, he was a skinny little lad in that movie, but you know, who knew he would become the stud muffin that he is today?
I mean, Ryan Gosling, right?
Yeah. Me too. Seriously. Yeah. But anyway.
It's such a good movie. Okay, so it came from that movie.
So that name came from that movie, and so funny. There's a weird coincidences with this band too. Like the number 24 has like some meaning. The town that I live in, Route 24 ends in my town. Ben's jersey number is the number 24. So, and then we keep seeing the number 24 show up on a regular basis, like, you know, in dates, in time, like whatever it might be. It's kind of wacky. It's super cool. That's cool. Yeah. So, but coming back to, you know,
42
when we just
backwards, just saying.
42.
It is
42.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
There's your.
Okay. There you go.
Amazing.
So Johnny, then, we were talking to a couple of friends in the industry, and a lot of people said, "Oh my gosh, you're a 3-piece now. Stay a 3-piece. It is going to be logistically better for you as far as splits are concerned, voting it within the band, decision making, food splits, all this stuff." And I know for an absolute fact when we were touring together that the three of us plus one guy in doing merchandise was the perfect balance. Like I don't think we would have survived in any other form other than the one that we currently have now. We were our experience as a band was forged during those years that we were struggling, struggling artists, and getting our feet wet. I gained so much, and the guys gained so much experience and value just from all the challenges that we faced that led to where we are today. That gives us the fortitude to move forward in all capacities. It's and I would strongly recommend if to any band, any artist that is serious about music, even if you're just based online for the most part, give yourself a chance to tour, test the limits, because if you can tour and survive, you can, I would say you can pretty much face anything, I like maybe not anything, but you can face a lot. You're going to learn a lot about yourself. You're going to learn a lot about the people that are around you, and you're going to come out of it much stronger and much more aware of what you're capable of. So that's what I would say.
That's a great piece of advice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I had to learn
hard.
the hard way.
It's really hard.
Yeah,
it's so funny. Opera touring is different from band touring, but it's a very similar thing where you're going to another place and
exactly
you're writing on your instrument the entire time.
Exactly,
It has to work.
The weather, the variables, the room,
the jet lag,
the people that you're working, the jet lag. Oh my God, the jet lag. Exactly. We've had a couple of fly shows, and it's, thank goodness it's only been like 1 or 2 time zones away. But boy, oh boy, that is rough stuff. So yeah, exactly. When it comes to opera, I think one of the main things that I'm getting at, because there's obviously artists across the entire spectrum, watching this that are not necessarily rock and metal touring musicians. So, I mean, when I say that thing about tour, I guess that's more geared towards like pop, country, rock, metal, like just getting started. As far as classical or any other forms, and especially with like all of this short form media that's coming out.
Oh, true.
It's amazing. So I think it's about finding something that takes you outside of the comfort zone that in regards to consistency, and still doing it even though you don't feel like doing it. And the return on investment is not obvious. You're not getting an immediate return on investment. You have a delay of gratification.
Stick yourself out there, be consistent, and make it so you have to rely on your instrument, and you'll be shocked at what you discover. And I actually think some people discover, hey, that isn't for me.
Exactly. And that's and you should.
That's okay.
And you should. You should. That's a blessing in disguise, because then you learn, oh, okay, this wasn't my thing. I had that. When I tried skateboarding for like 3 years, and I couldn't do it. It's like, I couldn't do it. It was in middle school. I tried to be the cool kid, and it just didn't work. So I was like, okay, I'm picking up this guitar.
I tried skateboarding in middle school. It was like this. It was this moment. It was like on it was in a parking lot, and I got on the skateboard, and like the moment I got on it, it shot out from underneath me, and I landed on my butt. It's just like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah,
at that point, I decided it wasn't for me. It was like a second of, not for me.
The most I could do was an ollie, pretty much. I couldn't do all the other fancy stuff, and all the cool kids just, I was kind of an outcast in middle school, and kids made fun of me because they thought I was like, wearing all the stuff and not actually skating, and like you're just like, okay, well, I guess I better get a skateboard then if I'm going to be like one of the cool kids with my Jinko jeans and.
Instead you became the guitar guy who the girls were like,
oh man, so it's probably good. It's probably good that I, I was made fun of by those dudes for like my lack of skills, because I probably would have never dove into something like the electric guitar. So there you go.
Boom. Boom.
Voila. Blessings in disguise.
Okay. So if we're looking at Small Town Titans as a whole,
Yeah.
people have maybe been introduced to you through the Grinch, but they don't know much about the band. Where should we start? Like, what's the first song a person should listen to?
I'll say the first album they should listen to, our most recent one. So that's called The Ride. It starts with a song called Rufflin' Feathers.
Do you need another shot? Are you begging for chaos? The red light is on and all eyes are on you. We'll never stop chasing. So let's all get high and raise a glass to our broken points of view. The world's a stage for all of us to see. Just make damn sure that you agree with me. Rufflin' feathers, baby, shaking trees. Let me tell you how it's gonna be.
Okay, that was about 2 years ago released,
That was
right?
it was a year and a half, 2 years ago that we came out with that album in the middle of a pandemic. That's when we decided to release that record. And we worked with an amazing sound engineering and producing team on that. Grant McFarland and Carson Slovak from Atrium Audio. They've done August Burns Red, which I'm repping today.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. So, and a whole bunch of other amazing metal and rock records have been done. They are a staple in this area, and it was amazing to work with them.
Yeah.
And the record it's my favorite record of all the ones that we've done, as far as the sonic quality, as far as the compositions, how we pushed ourselves. We had to, because of the way the pandemic threw a loop for us, we had to record that in 4 facilities because places kept closing. And situations kept going on. So like we literally moved with Grant and Carson when they needed to move. And we recorded over the course of a year and a half. So
That's rough.
yeah.
Okay, so I've listened to some of the things from this album, and
Yeah.
I think that my favorite, and probably the reaction video that's going to play right before this interview, I have like a couple that I've worked on. So we're going to see which one.
Awesome.
But The Man, for me, I was listening to it. I was like, wow, he's really, really good. And then when you went up high, I was just like, it's so crazy how you have this upper extension up there in a way that I just don't expect your voice to have. And then the lows in that song, in addition to that, it's so extremely rangy. It's very impressive once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And that's just a fun song. I don't want people to get the wrong idea and think that song's not for everybody. That's for everybody. Everybody is the man. If you're an underdog, you're the man.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Exactly. Because there's a wrestler in the WWE, and she goes by the man. And she's badass. So, and hey, by the way, if you want to use that song for your walkout song, give us a call. So just saying. Shameless plug. But and we wrote that at a time where we were just, we had a lot of people, we had worked with all kinds of people, good, bad, not
ugly?
so bad, not
Sorry,
so
the good,
good.
the bad, the ugly.
Ugly too. You can say ugly too. That's fine.
Well, I just had to have the famous trio was all.
But and we've come across like all kinds of people, and some some really good people who have taken care of us, but other a select few, and I mean a very, very small circle of people that just that are trying to take advantage of us, and we've definitely been swindled in the past. And as a young up and coming band, it's almost inevitable that you're going to run into that in some way, shape, or form.
That sucks.
Avoid it as
so
much as you can. But
small bands are the ones that often need the most support. Up and coming bands need the most support, the best fans, right? Because you're the ones. So swindling at that stage is, I feel like that's just one of the worst possible times for it to happen.
Like I said, a very small circle. A very small circle of people. It's like one bad apple, ruins the whole bunch. It's kind of like one of those things. And then there's other people who have a wide range of opinions about like what we should do, what song we should do next, that we should do more covers, that we should do more originals, that, you shouldn't do this song because you offended this person. You look like an egghead. You look like Nosferatu. Your ears are too big. What's up with this, guy? He looks like, he looks like Lex Luthor. He looks like, Uncle Fester from Addams Family. All of that stuff.
Wow.
And that's kind of like, oh yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I've seen it. It's amazing. I just, it's incredible. And I'm just like, that's cool. I mean, at least you're talking, have fun.
Yeah,
Enjoy your life. Enjoy your life because I'm enjoying mine immensely. So,
yes.
And that's what that song's about. It's like that's everybody, so that's trying to say, if there's an Aesop's fable about a father, a son, and a donkey, and everybody's telling the father and the son what they should do with the donkey, and at the end of it, they end up losing the donkey over the bridge because they listened to everybody and didn't do what they felt was best. They kept listening to everybody else and trying to please everybody. Well, guess what? That song, The Man, is about. Guess what? I'm not here to please everybody. I'm here to connect with everybody. If you want to share with me, if you want to listen, if you want to share in the love, come on in. I'm wide open. But if you're not into it, cool. Get out. So that's where I'm at.
That's really really well said. And I come back to like the health of an artist here, because artists are told that they should do so many different things. People have opinions and they will direct somebody if they can. The problem is, I don't know that all opinions are worth following. And I like the way you said it, you're willing to connect. I think it's worth listening to,
absolutely,
but not following. I think you need to establish an inner circle of people that you listen to for advice.
Yes.
When they can tell you when you sound awful, like you need to have somebody that is willing to do that.
We have a very good circle at this point. We have an excellent team. It's a small team, but it's an excellent team that is more than willing to give feedback and be honest with their feedback and their opinions. And, because of who they are and what they do for, say other artists, or because of their experience, that backs up what they're saying. I think that experience and clout and competence, clout and competence have a lot to do with the quality of an opinion. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody can share an opinion, but if your opinion does not have clout, it's probably not going to be taken seriously. So just make sure that you know what you're talking about before you spout off something.
Right. So true. So. And I think people might get offended sometimes when someone doesn't follow their advice or opinion. I think it's really important to know that artists are getting tons of opinions, and sometimes they need to just kind of pull back and listen to the couple of people that are closest to them. And no offense intended.
No, and that's we feel the same way. There's we just do what we do best, and or at least attempt to. And if you're along for the ride, awesome. If you want to get off for a while because we did something that you weren't a fan of, or we didn't do something that was to your liking, it is totally your choice. You can get on and off as much as you want to. We're here. We're going to be making music for as long as we possibly can. So
yes. Okay, so how do you get to this sort of next level, which I'm seeing Small Town Titans? Okay. You're not going from gas tank to gas tank anymore. No. And you've done collaborations with Lizzie Hale at this point, right?
Yeah,
right?
Cool.
So cool, yes. Hunger Strike. Anyhow,
super cool. Yes.
I think scoring those big collaborations is one of the ways that you start climbing up the ladder. But how do you get to scoring those big collaborations?
Well, it's at least in that regard, that it was the stars aligned for that. For that specific moment.
Were there 24 stars that aligned?
You would think there's probably some in some capacity 24 probably played a role. That was a very interesting experience. That was right as the pandemic kind of hit this like little U Like, you know, where it was the summer, there was barely any cases, everybody was coming back out, and like masks were coming off, and there was just kind of like this limbo of, I think everything's gonna be all right. So, you know, so it's just like in the middle of summer 2021. And
oh man.
yeah, so we sent out an email to Lizzie Hale's team. And we're just like, hey, listen, you know, and we had established, our booking agent had got us, you know, it was a hometown York, PA show, opening up for Lizzie Hale, who is also from this area, if that's not clear. So like also from York, Pennsylvania, grew up in Red Lion, like, you know, 30 minutes down the road. So,
oh my gosh, I hadn't realized you were that close.
Yeah, we're close. Same county. Like, yes, yes. The same clubs that we played, the Tourist Inn, the you know, Fat Daddies, all of those stuff. We did the same circuit, the Chameleon Club, the Village, all of that, you know. So the fact that, you know, we came from the same stomping grounds, the fact that we you know, played the same venues, there's all of this kind of, you know, relation between the two bands as far as our shared experiences are concerned. And Lizzie's just a badass, and on top of that, she's super down to earth and is incredibly kind.
Yes.
And we reached out to their team, and because of the fact that we're from this area, I think it was just like they appreciated the story of that. They said, yeah, let's do it. It's awesome. So we had covered Hunger Strike with our buddy Matt James a couple of months before that. And we decided to ask Lizzie to do that with us because she had done a cover herself. And I think on multiple occasions.
Yes.
So it just made sense. And we figured, you know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, one of the best quotes in the world. And Lizzie said yes. And then we showed up that day, had a chance to talk with her and the rest of the band, and you know, just talk shop and talk about everything and get a chance to catch up. We did an acoustic rehearsal backstage, and then you see the result of that in, you know, on the YouTube video.
Well, I'm going hungry. I'm going hungry. I'm going hungry. I'm going
And it was a lot of fun. And we ran into her again at Blue Ridge Rock Festival this past September. And it was great to see her there and catch up with everybody there, and met some really cool people too. I got to meet Gojira. I was like, oh my God, yes. I was like so happy. I got to meet Alex Terrible from Slaughter to Prevail too.
Oh my gosh.
I met him after his set, after his first show in the United States. After seeing them blast through that Armageddon, it was incredible to see that in person. And, you know, he was just super cool. I was like, Alex, do you mind if we get a picture? I was like, yeah. And I was like, dude, you're the man.
That's so funny. So Gojira has been on my shortlist for a very long time. I don't know how we haven't had them on the channel yet, but it's been there forever.
Oh my God. The technicality of that band is incredible.
Okay.
It's just like their drummer is I can't even, like, the technical prowess of this band is insane. Is just absolutely insane. Their instrumental prowess is incredible. I love it. And they're from France, and I have, you know, family coming from the like the La Lorraine region, and you know, like it's so I connect with Gojira on multiple levels. You know, they have some really cool like lyrical content as well that I relate to in
cool.
many capacities.
Did you and Alex nerd out about the harsh vocals and
we didn't really have a chance to talk a lot, unfortunately. It was a very quick you know, picture, nice to meet you, shook his hand, thanks for being here, really happy you're in the US. And then I wanted to give him space. People were just like, you know, crowding him like crazy, and I don't want to be one of those people that are just like, you know, hoarding him from everybody else. He's tired from the set. it's tough to mingle and please everybody that's on stage, let alone everybody that's out in the audience. So like, I wanted to give him the space that he deserves.
Sure.
And just say thank you, for being a badass and bringing his music to the United States. But yeah, I mean, and then Lizzie's set with Hailstorm. There were so many good sets at Blue Ridge Rock Festival. Bad Flower, Seven Dust. Yeah, that was really, really amazing. It really good to see them. Got to meet LeJohn, got to meet LJ there. And it was, we've had a really good summer. 2022 has been a really, really good summer for us. So I know I kind of went on a tangent there. My apologies, but
no,
it's just, it just comes back. I guess my point is that there's so many amazing people in the metal and rock community, and it's one of the most welcoming communities that you can possibly imagine. Saving Abel, that band, they love us. We love them. They're great guys. We toured with Hinder. Then in the summer of 2021, actually the day after we played with Lizzie in York, Pennsylvania in July of 2021, we had to get up in 2 hours. Like that night, we had to drive to Baltimore, get in a hotel room, wake up after an hour and a half, and almost miss our flight to Minnesota for a show. It was scary. I remember Ben was making fun of me because I was walking so fast ahead of the guys. It was just like, dude, it's like, just walk faster, Phil. It's just, I get really paranoid about time because when I was in high school, I was late for everything and tardy, and just like, I'm like,
on time.
But we made it. We made it, and we got to, and we did. I had 2 90-minute naps when we got to Minnesota, and we played an awesome show and flew back the next day, and then started our tour with Hinder. So, yeah.
I feel like when it rains, it pours when it comes to shows.
Yeah,
they all like to happen around the same time.
Yeah, summer, fall is big for that. Summer and fall is huge for that.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay, so I kind of heard a few big themes in there of how to sort of take it to the next level. Take a shot. First of all, just take a shot.
Yes.
Be good to the people in the community, and and you'll be more likely to end up having more collaborations. I think you'll see it. Go to festivals, play at festivals. Never say no. If you possibly can do a show, just do it.
I'm starting to realize I went way in this direction from that question. I apologize.
Please don't apologize. The best tea times go like this. Yeah. They meander.
Let me rein it back in and say this. This is something I tell my students. This is something that I tell people that ask me for advice on a regular basis. Now, this may be a hard pill to swallow. You may be offended by what I'm about to say, but if you take it to heart, in like you is in general, I think you'll relate to this specifically. If you want something badly enough, you will get it. It's going to cost you a lot: time, energy, consistency, money, sleep, tears, sometimes blood, whatever it is you want, you're going to get it if you put in that amount of time. Now, if you don't get it, what you wanted was not good enough, or you didn't want it badly enough, and that's it. And it's up to you whether or not you can live with it. Just like, I didn't want to be a skateboarder badly enough. I can live with that. You want to know why? Because I picked up a guitar. Badass. So there you go. And obviously I'm sensitive to people's situations, people might hear that. It's like, dude, I am in a bad place right now. Like, I have barely any opportunities whatsoever. There's so, how can you say that to me? How can you say that I want something badly enough? If I want something badly enough, I'll get it when I've been grinding so much, that I work so hard, that I do this, that, and the other thing. I am sure wherever you at on this planet, whatever you do, wherever you are, you can find something that you want and attain it. Whatever that is. You might have to experiment with what you want, but at some point it's going to lock in and you're like, oh, that's what I want.
That's it.
And then you're going to laser focus on that, and you're not going to let go. You're going to be like a pit bull. And for me, what that was. And I was very lucky to find that early on.
Yes.
Very lucky to find that early on. I've been wanting to be a musician and an artist ever since I was a kid. Like I wanted to make music and be creative, and I wanted to make a living at it. And I'm doing that today. You know, I left my 9 to 5 September 14th, 2012. I worked part-time for a candy factory for 2 months when I was really, really down on my luck in 2015, 2016. Or God bless, you know, Mr. Naylor at Naylor's Candy for having me. But other than that brief moment there, I haven't turned back. I will do everything in my power to never go back. I really enjoyed my time at my 9 to 5. It was a really, really good place to work. Loved the people there. But I'm not going back.
Right.
So
I liked one of the sort of like little things in there that you said is that it might not be good enough, what you're wanting. That
right.
might not be good enough. And I think that it might not be good enough for that person too.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's
so
where,
what yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I want you to go ahead because this is what you say. I feel like you've got so much more time behind this thought.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's I'd love to elaborate because I want people to understand what I'm saying. You know, if you want to win $100 million in the lottery and you want it badly enough, you'll get, you know, as many tickets as you possibly can, and you still might not want it. Is that really the best thing to want? Something that you only have one in, like, you know, however many, whatever the odds are. Is that something you know, is that something worth your time, worth your energy, worth the consistency to get that $100 million jackpot? Now, there is a slight, very, very, very slight chance that you'll get it. But is it worth the time and the energy and the consistency when you can start a mutual fund and start saving money, compounding interest, delay of gratification? And you might be, you know, you might not have $100 million in the bank, but you'll probably have a couple $1 million in the bank because it wasn't about the lottery ticket. It was about having the resources necessary in order to have the life that you want.
Yeah.
So there are more ways to center than that. So that's what I'm saying. You want to look for quality things. What you want should be quality, and it's got to be specific to you. You're gonna have like this moment where it's like, aha, that's it. Okay,
yeah.
It has to be sustainable. That's the other thing too, because like it's if it's not sustainable for you subjectively, it's like, and I say that with caution because sometimes you have to push your limits. You have to go way outside your comfort zone in order to get what you want. But if it's to the point where it's sacrificing too much for you, like it's costing too much, then it's maybe time to find something else, some other want. So
yeah. I think those are really, really great philosophical insights, and they're very applicable to so many people. And I relate 100%. I
Awesome.
knew when I was also in middle school that I wanted to do music. And then I refined that in my senior year of high school, saying I wanted to move people. And that was because I saw people moved in a vocal performance that I was singing, and saw them lean forward and realize, oh, I have the power with my voice to move people. And it's been very vocal focused, but also very music focused, I would say. So all along the way, I want to move people, and I want to move more people. It's moving people emotionally, making their life more vibrant. It's this like fundamental humanist that I want to move that. I want to stimulate that, make it bubble.
And you want it badly enough because it's happening consistently. It's compounding every single day.
It's so exciting because I look back at life and I see all of the major shifts I've made, and I see that they've been aligned with that. And I think that finding that early is so lucky, like you said, but continuing to search for that, that's worth it too.
Absolutely. Because that can change. I certainly can relate to that. There's, you know, it's like, just to be completely, well, not completely transparent, but, transparent enough to make the point. This is a very transitional period for me as a father, which to a perfect baby boy. He is incredible. He just doesn't sleep as much as we'd like him to. That's the only thing. But he smiles every time I walk into the room. It is like the most incredible thing. My wife and I are just over the moon with this child. It's been tough with our 80-pound husky. He's wonderful with our dog. I mean, our dog is wonderful with our son, but he is a terror to deal with. He's a fluffy, crazy boy. Our dog's name is Jackson. He's nuts. But being a father, working, as a musician, as an artist, working in multiple aspects of the field, it's a lot to handle, and you can absolutely relate to that. So transitioning into that, the amount of responsibilities that come with that, also while sustaining and maintaining a business that has been in the making for a long time now. And so I am looking to revise what I want constantly because I am making a living at music and art, but I know that I'm capable of more. Now it's about, okay, how far can we push this? Is this the best you can do? Yeah. Is this the best you can do? And if that answer is no, then do the things that are going to make that a yes. So,
yeah. I think that becoming a parent makes you much more conscious of how effective you can make your time.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
Is this hour here worth not spending this hour with my son?
Exactly. Because and I hope that this hour and a half that you've spent with me is worth it. So
right, exactly. Like it's
been worth it to stay, to not be with my son at the moment. But it's and that is such a challenge too.
We pick our times carefully, don't we?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. And that's a challenge too for any of the parents that are watching this that are considering like a touring life. Get ready, because that's gonna be traveling, and leaving home is one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah,
it's one of the hardest things to do. We had a really great summer of touring, but it was one of the hardest legs that it was one of the hardest legs that I've ever done. And for a variety of reasons, but the main reason is leaving my wife and kid at home. It's tough. It's tough. You really have to want it.
That.
Yeah. It's and most of the time the payoff is worth it. The sacrifice is worth it. The end result is worth it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have shows and sometimes they're not as they're not as big as you'd like them to be, and it takes more energy out of you to give an excellent performance for the people that show up. Mm-hmm. And every band can relate to that. Some shows are like, oh my gosh, over the top, it's insane, super high. And then you play a show during the week and maybe, it wasn't, you still had a great crowd, but it was small and mighty as opposed to, wild and crazy and big. And it's all well and good, but it leaves you, wanting home more. Like those nights, it's just like, ooh, man, I'd love to be home right now, but I can't. Like I'm not, like I physically cannot. Like if your van breaks down, that happened during one of our tour legs, and I was just like, I cannot physically get to my son right now. If I had to make calls and get to my baby boy, it would be an incredibly expensive Uber ride, but I'd do it, Mm-hmm. And that's a scary thought. That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
But, so I think my main challenge is continuing to grow what we're doing as a band, to make it worth it, to show as my son gets older, and I'm sure you feel the same way too, running your business, as your son gets older, to show them that when you sacrifice something, even time with them, that in the end, it is worth it in the long term. And that it makes the time that you do spend with your kids and your loved ones that much more precious. So,
yeah.
Wow,
Oh.
I'm talking a mile a minute. I'm so
No,
sorry.
it's so sweet. I'm having feels.
You are opening up the floodgates here, Elizabeth. There's just something about, yes. So thank you. Cheers to you. Cheers to
Oh,
Charismatic
cheers.
Voice
Cheers.
and this platform. It's amazing.
Thank you. Oh,
I mean,
have you had these moments where you're analyzing your son's vocalizations and you're going, oh my gosh.
Yes.
What part of your voice was that?
Oh my gosh. No, he's going to be a metal screamer. Like, and I have to fanboy out for a little bit. So like when you did that analysis of Will Ramos, I watched that from beginning to end. And I've been fascinated with his vocalizations just ever since. Like, it was like that asymmetry that occurred. I was just like, it's incredible. And I've been doing it was just so, and I've been doing an independent study of fry screaming. I can do false chord screaming. I've been able to do false chord screaming for a while. But I because of what you posted and because of the stuff that you've been working with Will in that detail, I've been figuring it out.
Oh my gosh!
If it weren't for you, and if it weren't for Will, I would have no idea how that worked. So thank you. Thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun. My band hates it.
What are you doing?
Well, and this is because like we're more singing and they like the false chord scream here and there and whatever, but like I'll just come up with a stupid side project and do that. And I always had this idea that I should have like a deathcore side project called Giggles of Wrath, and just have the lyrics be like, complaints of a parent, stepping on a Lego, like, I stepped on a Lego today, like all that stuff. Like, that would be so fun. Like come out in a banana suit. I'd like come out in a banana suit, yell about how the dog peed on the carpet again, just like all that other stuff.
Why haven't you done this, Phil?
Well, it's just because time and focus. It will be done. That's it will be done. It's just a matter of when.
You could make shorts, like TikTok thing. You could do it and then just.
I have actually.
Have you done those?
I did it with 2 nursery rhymes so far. I think I'm going to continue to do this. I did one where I did. What would row, row, row your boat sound like if Lorna Shore covered it?
What would row, row, row your boat sound like if Lorna Shore covered it? Might sound a little something like this.
So that's on my YouTube channel.
Oh, I didn't see that. Perfect.
Yeah, that's it's on my personal YouTube channel. And then I did Humpty Dumpty for Slaughter to Prevail, and I'm working on a few in the queue just for fun, on top of all the other stuff that I'm responsible for, So
your personal YouTube channel is pretty cool. I was going through it and I didn't see those, but I saw the false chord short that you did. I thought that was really great. You packed so much into such a short amount of time in that. And then I also was looking at like the acapella one that you did of a Squid Game with all the different layers. I was like, oh, he beatboxes too.
That was a goofy video, but thank you. Yeah, it was. That's a goofy song.
You did a cover of Toxicity too. That was cool.
Yeah,
you did lots of good covers.
Thank you.
Super cool. Okay, so I need to go look for nursery rhymes.
Yeah, right.
Amazing. I want that banana suit. That needs to be reality.
Yeah, it should be reality. Yeah, right? At some point.
Oh, so cool. Okay, so your kid is going to be a metal screamer.
Yeah, and it's like, that's the thing. Like he's been such an inspiration for me and my students, because like I always say, like, go by instinct. Go by instinct. And the way that he's moving his abdominal muscles when he vocalizes is exactly what I tell my students to do. Like, and maybe you can relate to this because, a lot of voice coaches talk about breathing in, but the way that we support the breath, the way that we use the abdominal muscles and the back muscles and all of the intercostals to support that breath and direct it to the right spot, that is just as much of a topic and a foundation for a healthy voice and an excellent performance as the way that you breathe in. We've all heard the Buddha belly, allowing the diaphragm to expand to its full capacity. But you also want to make sure that you're getting that air that you just dropped into the right places. So you want to make sure that you're activating all those muscles. And my son, and it's like, oh, that's BS. You're supposed to do this. No. Watch a video of any baby. Like take a baby and listen to them vocalize, watch their abdomen, feel the muscles as you're holding them and see what they do. And and I didn't teach him that. I'd like to think that I taught him everything that he knows, but he's a baby. He's doing that by instinct. And that's a beautiful, it is a beautiful picture of how our bodies know exactly what to do. And mostly voice coaching is just helping people relearn what they already know, what they
right.
know.
Oh, because as humans, as we get older and older, we get more and more baggage.
Oh my God. I deal with it on a regular basis. And I love my students so much. And there are, oh God, I'm getting emotional thinking about this, but they have light bulb moments because and can I swear? Is that okay?
Oh, go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
I'll keep it PG. Some jackass said something really, really perverted and weird to one of my students, 20 years ago. And that's stuck in their head.
Yeah.
And so the quality of their voice changed and they had all this tension in their larynx over years because of that. And I said, your passaggio is lower. It's lower than where you're speaking. Bring it down. Embrace the depth in your voice. And they were almost in tears. 20 years of vocalizing and having tension here. And by getting rid of that, that's why you want to take people's opinions with a grain of salt.
Yes.
Because it can really, if you let it, you can really let it affect you. Because taking that out of the equation meant so much more freedom for them. It's a beautiful moment. When you see those light bulb moments, it's absolutely incredible.
Totally.
It's one of the best end results that you can possibly imagine. And you relate to that.
100%.
Yeah.
I want to, you've said a couple terms here. I want people to know exactly how you think about these terms. So when you say passaggio, what do you think of as a passaggio?
I think that's an excellent question because, passaggio, fash, that's, in the traditional realm, that's bass, tenor, alto, soprano. The way that I look at it, at least what I tell my students is to think of genres, styles on a spectrum, okay? As far as phonation, as far as vowel shape, as far as attention to consonants and vowels, okay? So on one side you have opera, which has more attention to the consonants and more attention to articulation, more percussive. And then you have contemporary music, which is more vowel-based. You don't get rid of the consonants, but it's way brighter. There's a broader extension to the vowels, a lot more teeth, and activation of the face. And in traditional circles, there's a lot of thought around and a lot of opinion around not moving the face around a lot while you're singing, especially in choral. In choral settings. Now in opera, in opera it's different, and this is my theory. This is my theory on this. In choirs, you have to blend. Number one, your voice part is limited to 2 octaves, if not less, depending on the music, because they have to fit everybody in.
Yep.
All the basses that can hit 1.5 to 2 octaves, and the basses that can hit 4 or 5 octaves. So, I was bass 2 in college. Anyway, that's back to the point. So you have this limited range because you need to include everybody. Opera solo, so you can go beyond that. And as you go further and further down the spectrum where there's more expressiveness, this starts to move more. There's more of this going on. And there's two things that occur. You see more emotion in this area, which contributes to the emotion. You see the emotion in the eyes. It also helps with a technique. It helps you get up to those higher notes. I cannot hit notes properly and cleanly, like the B flat 4, C5 area, without moving my embouchure around, without placing my voice in certain ways, which if I sang in a traditional way, with the relaxed embouchure that genre calls for, can't be done. And what I found fascinating is that people from the choral realm, some, not all, the small circle, say, don't move your face. It's bad for your voice, which I've noticed, and I'm guilty of this too. When I say things are bad for your voice, it's because I don't understand it. It's usually from a place of misunderstanding rather than actual fact.
Yep.
So, and dogma for that matter.
I agree with that.
You know? So, yeah.
I know the face, it can absolutely be used to help, in particular, I think, raise a soft palate. People can use this, and they're thinking about raising everything, so everything then would move up. But you also don't have, like, you can do isometrics, essentially. Like, you don't have to do this to raise the stuff back there. A lot of times we'll talk about an inner smile, which is raising all the stuff back there so that it's there, but isn't necessarily right there.
Because it is an internal game. Absolutely. Yes.
Exactly.
Please continue. I'm fascinated by this.
It's so funny because I've had people come in that were trying so hard to hit a note by raising their eyebrows. And I'm like, okay, you can use that to help you learn how to get there. But then what happens is they end up getting all of this excess tension that's always up there. And then I hear tension crawl into the vocal fold. So it's this like balance game where you basically say, can you do the thing you're doing here and be super expressive here without forcing tension into your larynx?
Yes,
it's
exactly.
so hard.
I'm such a fan of spectrums, because there is a point where moving this too much, you'll go into this other extreme where it's tension and you're causing tension here in the larynx.
Yep.
So we almost froze there. Oh my goodness, I don't know what that was, but hopefully, we're good.
Okay, I think we're good.
Oh gosh.
Maybe there's an internet blip in there.
Who knows? Scary. Anyway, but you're absolutely right about the extremes. Like, you have to stay within a healthy spectrum, like, because if you don't move your face around at all, you're going to cause tension in the larynx. If you move your face too much, like, for example, if you move your jaw too much, that's going to cause tension in the larynx. If your head position is going to cause, like, if you're tilted up too high, it's going to cause tension in the larynx. So you're absolutely right that and I love what you said about the internal smile, because it is an internal game. That's excellent. I've used analogies. Yes, that's incredible. I've used analogies like crying through the note, chewing on the phrase. I got crying crying through the note from an excellent colleague of mine from a place I used to teach at, Reggie Woods. Shout out to you, my friend. So I will not take credit for that. And I love talking with other voice instructors, because you learn so much along the way as well.
Right.
We all share our perspectives.
Love it.
And so like crying through the note, but it's all
I love that.
Analogies, towards that internal game of placing the soft palate in the right way, getting the direction of the airflow of the sound pressure in the right spots. And it's so fascinating to see the nuances in every single voice. Every single instrument is different.
Right. We all have a different anatomy. Like, it's just, if somebody feels it in their cheekbones and somebody feels it right above their eyebrows, one isn't necessarily right or wrong. They could both be absolutely right for different anatomies.
The amount, if I had a dime for every time that I told a student one thing and told a student, another student, the exact opposite, and for the same result, I would take all those dimes and donate them to charity.
Donate them to vocal research.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, man. It's such a difficult thing, I think, to put your finger on, because we can see a piano and we can see fingers hitting a piano. We can't see all the things that are happening in here.
Exactly.
Right.
That's why I always start off, like, I do like consultations with people, and the first thing I say, the first question I ask them after we get like the housekeeping, what their goals, their aspirations, all that stuff.
Oh, perfect.
I ask them like a Zen koan. I say, point to your voice. Point to your voice. I love all the answers that I get. I love that because people will point here, people will point down to the solar plexus, people will point in the face, and I say to them, you're right, but you're only a third or a fourth or a fifth right, depending on what you point to.
Mm-hmm.
If you indicate your entire body, outside and inside, that is your instrument. Your voice is not just your vocal folds; it's everything else. Like for example, an example of a bad experience. I got a knot in my back, a minor injury that I sustained one summer, and I could not hit high notes. I couldn't hit anything above an F4 without excruciating pain.
Oh,
So
boy.
that is a perfect example of how the body plays a huge role in your voice.
Was it the intercostal muscles essentially got disturbed there and you couldn't support the note the right way?
It was right underneath the shoulder blade, so right along the intercostals of the rib cage in the back, and it just every time I went for a high note, it just I couldn't do it. I could barely do it.
Yeah.
I remember there was one show where I was screaming through the pain when I was not on the microphone. I was like playing the bass and just going like looking at Ben like, this is bad, dude. So
That's
rough.
I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. But it serves as there's value in that experience because it helped me learn. Oh my gosh, like it reinforced the idea that it's not just this, it's not just the the diaphragm, it's not just the face, it's everything. All working together as one. And so.
Okay. I want to know a couple things specific about how you feel your instrument.
Yeah.
And that really goes into it very nicely. I'm particularly curious about your lows. Sometimes I hear some gravelly that'll be pulled into there.
The voice is telling lies. It tells me not to try, to take the easy way out. And don't get out of line. It's not the path I choose. I surrender to the muse. You surrender to the world. And that's how you're gonna lose.
How do you think about your lowest notes? Are you thinking fry? Are you thinking, do you ever think about adding any sort of false folds down there? Like what, how do you approach your lows?
That's excellent. I remember you just recently posted a short, and forgive me, the name of the bass singer,
Jeff Castellucci.
Yeah,
And
Jeff
subharmonics.
Castellucci. Yes, the subharmonics. That fascinated me because I've experimented with subharmonics just for fun, but I find that I'm way more towards the fry side of things.
Yeah.
And I actually tried going to an ENT to get scoped.
Ooh.
To find out what the heck was going on, but they didn't have a video and I didn't have a chance to take a look, and it was just a very brief visit. I wanted to be sure that everything was normal, but
you should always have baseline. I think any professional singer should have a baseline.
Yeah, I feel as if it would be amazing to have that experience someday to go and scope my vocals, even if I have to get a camera myself to do it, and figure it out and send it to a doctor. I'll get to it at some point. But the way that I look at my lows is I usually go for fry, like a fry sound.
Yeah.
Like way down there. But it's usually very, very tall. There's a lot of relaxation and a lot of openness. So for you're a foul one. That part in Mr. Grinch, that's I'm keeping my head aligned. I'm really paying attention to the resonance in my rib cage, in my solar plexus, in that area. And it's taken a long time to develop that awareness of the bass side of things. Like even in college, my bass would be very breathy, and I would have a hard time and then once I got the hang of the fry, that with that sound, when I got like, got the idea of clarity and compression, not letting the air leak through the vocal folds too much. It made a huge impact on my tone as a bass singer.
And it allowed you to have fry in the voice, essentially, once you didn't have as much air.
Right.
This
exactly.
is awesome.
So yeah, I go way more towards the fry side of things rather than subtonal. I think the subtonal is fascinating.
Yeah.
Like Buddhist monk chants.
Yep.
Like
Chieftain
throat singing,
uh-huh.
Mongolian throat.
For
yes,
sure.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Very cool stuff.
Common. It's so interesting. So I think when I approach the word vocal fry right now, it's definitely one that I look to see how a singer feels it and experiences it, because people say fry and they mean different things in the voice.
Yes. So and it's fascinating to me too, because especially with screaming, because like a lot of people have a hard time understanding the difference between fry screaming and false chord screaming. And what I finally came up with it just like recently, where false chord, there's an epistemology to it. You can stem false chord from this sound. Like you can go from wrong answer, and then you've heard like in cartoons and stupid movies and stuff, somebody go like act like like this, like the whole like cat thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. So like that's where you can go with that. So it evolves into the fry, and it's just like, oh my gosh, there you go. That's it. It was a light bulb moment for me that's like that. So it's almost like the difference between chest voice and head voice, at least to me, when it comes to fry.
Oh no, and I think they're totally separate areas where the sound source is coming from.
It's amazing. Like for me with false chord screaming, it feels more in the chest, like it would be with a chest voice. And for fry screaming, it feels more like almost a head voice. But the one thing that I do, especially with students who want to learn distorted vocals, never feeling any issues here. Like it's all rattling around. And usually the soft palate, I find that anything like with my bass fry, like it's usually a feeling in the back of my mouth. Like the soft palate. So like, with the false chord screaming, with the fry screaming, with the high stuff, with the distortion, it's always in the back of the mouth, right by my uvula, right with the soft palate. So
Oh, sorry. I was just thinking, I'd want to like insert here. I feel like I've heard the two main different kinds of fries. You're actually talking about them right now. One is when you're singing a really low bass note and you start to fry down there. That's actually usually, in this case, it's usually something that's on the true folds, where there's essentially less air support. There's less air that's moving through. And that's why you're talking about not having as much air. It becomes a lot more relaxed in a lot of ways.
You have to move the embouchure in such a way, and your intercostal muscles and everything in here in a different way in order to compress the air that's coming through, because the vocal folds are vibrating at such a low frequency that there's going to be more air that escapes. So you have to compensate for that in another way.
Yeah.
So
And there's vocal fry, as in like a valley girl talking down here like this.
Like
that's
this,
when I've abandoned all breath support, actually. But you can take that and apply it down and low. And sometimes fry and pulse register are referring to our ears actually hearing the space between the vocal folds going wacka, 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 which is fascinating. But then there's the fry that we associate with a fry scream, like especially a high fry scream, right? And that's when we were starting to, if you just use Will as an example, right?
Exactly.
That's a area up further along, higher in the vocal tract, which would make sense that it feels like it's in your head instead of in your chest.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
That it's a closure that's higher, that's being the source of sound.
That makes perfect sense.
Right, but
that makes perfect sense.
We use vocal fry for so many things, and it's so not specific right now. I
know. There's and it's incredible, and that's why I was so happy when you when you went to, Dr. Titsa, and when you got Will in there, because that is such amazing work that's being done. Like that you guys are doing to show that it can be done in a way that's sustainable. That's just amazing.
So cool.
It was so cool. And it helps, I think one thing is like, because it's so internal, because the voice is so internal, that the hundreds of years that people have been vocalizing and studying, it was kind of like guesswork, throwing darts at a dartboard in the dark. Yeah. But now that we have these tools and this technology, it's we have way more science behind it. And it's developing, and you're contributing that. Like, that's what's so cool about that. It's fascinating. So like we're getting to a point, where we can discern these different types of fry, these different types of vocalizations based on evidence, based on solid evidence that is being scoped by professionals. It's amazing. It's so cool.
Crazy. I'm so excited for you at some point to get your baseline done too, and taking a look. It's going to be really interesting, I think.
I would love that. I would love the opportunity whenever it presents itself. I know it'll happen at some point in some way, shape, or form down the line, but who knows? It definitely has to happen at some point.
I'm so interested too. I think I want to hear what happens when you play with subharmonics a bunch, because you use your false folds so much.
Yes.
And you have already very good low notes, obviously, that it's going to be so interesting to see when that suddenly hits and then you see this huge drop. I bet you're going to rattle rooms. Screws are going to come loose. I mean, they're already coming loose. Like, the rooms are just going to fall down.
Right?
That construction, the Amish construction next door, too bad.
That's amazing. That was awesome. What a great segue back to that's amazing. Oh, nice. That's super cool. Yeah. So yes, I am always up for a challenge. So yeah, I'm going to look at, subharmonic, subtone bass singing and see if I can't add that to the list of things that fascinate me vocally. So that's awesome.
Right. Next album. That's going to be so cool.
Yes.
Well, okay. So when people, I'll ask one last question. I've had so many questions built up about singing, especially knowing that you're a fellow vocal nerd and somebody who's done the performing of it and the teaching of it both. When you have both things, it really, you're learning it in a different way.
It's huge.
So for me, one of the hardest things to do is give people a whole lot of direction with any sort of distortion right now. And I know, I want to keep it off of the true folds, obviously.
Yes.
And I have a couple different ways for people to get to those sounds. Mm-hmm. But I find that it's really hard for people to get distortion in the mix without adding a ton of tension. So what do you do to help a singer get that distortion, especially on your high notes? Because, man, you've got crazy good distortion on your high notes, which tend to be very tense.
Yes.
What advice would you give?
Oh, that is an excellent question. As far as distortion is concerned. So hopefully my son isn't down for a nap, and I'll have to check in here to see if that's the case. But let me check my Gmail and see if my wife has let me know of anything or given me an update.
Oh, I totally understand that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So
the V1 has been quiet recently.
Looks like we're clear. She knows that I'm doing this, and so. Yeah, just to give you some examples.
The kid has nightmares.
Right. And oh God, if anything, he'll be doing it right along with Daddy here soon enough. He already is.
Good.
So hopefully I'm in good voice today. But just to kind of give you some examples, for when it comes to the that type of sound that I'm doing, or the that D5 and that B flat 4. B flat 4 was in chest voice, and then that D5 was in head, like a mixed tone, like a head voice mixed tone. One thing that I'll tell students is, rather than thinking of the air pushing out and projecting into the room, push up into this miniature theater that's sitting right here in your your pharynx area, like
The
in your
mask.
like internal the mask. Push into the mask and keep the volume at conversational level.
Oh, good. Yes.
Like imagine that there's somebody right here,
Uh-huh.
and if you have to go oh, and it's a little wonky today. My apologies. It's like so anybody listening to that, but
You're fine.
At least my mixed tone, but like keeping it here. Like that's gonna help a lot.
That's a really
Yeah, so like keeping your hand here
Mm-hmm.
and feeling only like it should feel like only like heat or compressed air on the hand. And that usually helps balance out the tension. Along with
That,
Yeah, go ahead.
What you just said, that makes perfect sense for why that tension would reduce. So if you're feeling
Okay.
heat or compressed air on your hand, that means you're not having as much air expelling, which means that somebody
Air
isn't
leak.
trying to push up and the air pressure underneath the
Bingo.
larynx is not so
Bingo.
much that is creating tons of force in the vocal folds.
Exactly. I use a ton of analogies with students. I'll also use the air horn analogy because you have an air horn.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small canister with a relatively big horn with a huge sound.
Mm-hmm.
If it has a small amount of air and a relatively small horn but a huge sound, how is that created? Compression.
Mm-hmm.
It's created through compression.
That's
So
good.
if you can
like
learn
that.
to balance, like I always avoid the words pressure and tension and constriction.
Mm-hmm.
I like to use compression and clarity and activation. I like to use those
Beautiful.
words instead. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because it does require activation of muscles. It does require compression in order for the air not to leak. That's like dumping fuel onto a highway while you're going down the road. Like when you're leaking air, or if you're pushing too much air through the larynx. And also you're going to blow out your vocal folds doing
Yep.
that. So I use the air horn analogy as an example. I'll tell students to push up rather than out. So that way, like in layman's terms, obviously there might be problems with that, if we don't get into the nuance of that. So that, comes with the territory. But that's, the conversational level and making sure that there's no excess air coming through. That's why I'm always wary of consonants. Like H's.
Aspirated
Like,
ones, yeah.
I always say, like, if you're going to go, whoa, ho, ho, that's like the H right there. You have to be very careful with your H's because it's like the guy at the party that takes all the shrimp that you didn't invite. It's one of the consonants that you just like, no, H. No, you don't belong there. If we have a word with the H in it, cool. But please don't come in on the whoa-ohs. Don't come in like whoa, ho, ho. Unless you're called for, unless the genre is called for.
Yeah,
In
that's just a
contemporary
style
music,
choice.
it's rarely called for in contemporary. And actually, because of how high octane the music is, it can actually hinder rather than help.
I
in
believe
certain
it.
situations.
Yeah, if
So,
you have a ton of extra airflow coming through, you can't get the coordination that you need for efficiency on the high notes.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So what you're saying makes perfect sense. And so hopefully what
too.
I'm saying
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah, that's really great.
Okay.
I think those are like some really fantastic tips in there.
Awesome.
Ooh, I'm going to use this idea of a little bit of hot air. Like that's the most
Yeah.
you should feel right there. That's
Yes.
so good for contemporary singing in particular. I think it's interesting with opera, you have to go a little bit different because we're looking for so much volume.
Yes.
But
yes.
contemporary singing, where you're using these things and having more distortion too, that
yeah.
comes through in a microphone so well.
Exactly. And that's another thing. I think it's so important for people to understand this, that context matters.
Oh, yeah.
Context matters so much because especially in an opera setting, when you are singing with a certain type of technique, you can project. Your passaggio allows you to project the way that the techniques that you're using, the register that you're in, all of those things allow you to push the limits because your vocal folds are not as thin on, say, something that you're hitting like a B flat 4 or C5 if you're a bass, like like yours truly here,
Yeah.
So I will absolutely say this. My band says I'm loud. Sometimes they hate me because of how loud I can be in the van screwing around. But It's due to the way that I'm compressing the air rather than the amount of airflow. That completely changes when you're singing art songs, when you're singing arias, which is what I've had experience in that in the past. And it's using the same tools in a completely different way for completely different end results.
I think it's interesting. You can have like really good, I would say they have fundamentals that are going to be the same. You breathe,
yes,
you phonate.
It's like a tree. Yes, it's like a tree. You have the trunk, and there's a lot of relation in the trunk, and then it branches off into different things.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a better analogy than using the same tools in a different way. So yeah, forgive me.
Perfect. No, I like that was good. I like the tree. I have some patron questions for you. I have several here. I'm pretty excited about. Yeah,
I'm excited too. Yeah, I love talking to different communities about things. It's good.
This is cool. Quirky Uncle Dave asked, three-part harmonizing. I know, Quirky Uncle Dave.
I love that. I love that handle. That's great.
Good. He's a super awesome person who sings.
Fantastic. Nice. Good.
Three-part harmonizing is something that Small Town Titans is known for, and I know the group is very collaborative in showcasing each other's talents.
Yes.
And you talk about how you approach harmonizing when working on a new song, knowing where it's appropriate, breaking out the different parts, recording parentheses together or separate ?
That is a beautiful question. I love that question. Thank you, Uncle Dave. Quirky Uncle Dave. We've put a lot of work into that. Obviously with my background, my parents being musical, my mom being a choir director, my dad being an organist, I grew up with harmonizing, doing the musicals, doing the choirs, all that stuff. Going to school for it. And harmony was a huge part of that. And so bringing that to a contemporary setting, bringing that to two of my best friends, two of my greatest allies, and giving them, my mutated version of everything that I learned through trial and error, and working with them extensively, especially when we decided to become a trio. It became a big thing, especially like on our album Reflection. That's when it really started to pick up steam. These 3-part harmonies, and started, really focusing on that, and everybody having their own voice in the band. And so it's a product of a lot of work, and I'll usually be the one that comes up with the harmony parts, and then have them, work the harmony parts with me on a regular basis, especially at the beginning. And then we'll just keep running it again. For our warm up, there's a song that we have called Behind the Moon. And it starts with 3 harp harmonies right at the beginning. And it's something that we pride ourselves on, a band where all 3 of the members sing in some way, shape, or form, and doing it live. That's another thing that I also made sure, at least for the ride, we still have a say in what we do as far as our art is concerned. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? I hope to preserve that, but you can only control so much. No pitch correction, no melodyne on my voice. That's that. I want to get it done right. I want it right, and I don't want to crutch.
I've heard enough of your stuff that I could pick up on that.
Yeah.
It's
sometimes those tools,
impressive.
Those tools might be used for like certain things, like in the background and stuff like that. And it has been put on my voice for recordings in the past. Absolutely. I will fess up to that, because, different producers have different ideas, and, it is what it is. And, sometimes the team wants certain things, but I made it a point to ask our producer, hey, let's lay off the melodyne for my lead tracks. Let's just try to get it done right. And they were like, yeah, absolutely. Like, you make my job easier. It's like, cool, awesome. That's great.
Yeah. I think that's super smart, particularly for the lead vocal. There's I think a little more emotional content often on lead tracks when you don't have as much melodyne in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
I love it when somebody goes a little bit sharp. That's like a thing.
Yeah, I love that too. Yeah! Me too. I love that. Yeah, just that's like, because it just shows that emotion. It shows that you're just putting it into that. Yeah, I love that too. I think that. So
if I've done lots of production of vocals in the past of various people, but I think if I were to go back and do production on a metal vocalist today that needed a little bit of pitch correction, I would probably push them a little sharp in areas with melodyne rather than saying like make it perfect. I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
Make it exciting.
I love that, actually. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that's fun. That's awesome. Awesome. So yeah, we put a lot of effort into it, and the guys have been amazing, amazing to work with. Excellent students of the craft, and they've been improving,
Awesome.
ever since we decided to start doing that on a regular basis. So thank you for the question, quirky Uncle Dave.
You're right. This one also has a great name, Pointless Discussion, aka Bart.
How nihilistic,
All right.
existential.
I absolutely right. And we touched on this. So I think that we're going to look at the last part of his question the most.
Okay.
I absolutely love the live cover of Hunger Strike you did together with Lizzie Hale. How did this cover come to be? We touched on that. Was it a spontaneous thing or was it planned? Touch on that a little bit. And how did you guys decide who sang which part?
Ooh, that was okay. So that was tough because we only had a certain amount of time.
Right.
And we figured that, Lizzie, she keeps singing the second part each time. So let's have her sing the second part each time, so that's because that's how we did it in the recording. We wanted to make it as easy for her as possible. We wanted to let her have her moment to shine. We had a round that we added, which kind of went a little haywire at the end, but we still saved it. It was great. And it was, and no fault of Lizzie whatsoever. It was more everybody else. We were just all super excited. We were kind of like pinching ourselves, like, is this really happening right now? Oh my God. So like, it was just one of those moments, but it was, we tried to make it as easy as possible for Lizzie, and she handled it beautifully, and we saved it. It was great. It ended up being an amazing moment. So we determined it very, we had the plan and brought it to Lizzie. She ran with the plan with very little time to prepare, and she did amazing, and it worked out, obviously. Otherwise, we wouldn't have, we wouldn't have released it if we thought like, yeah,
no,
I
it
screwed
did work
that
out.
up. Oh my goodness, yeah, it did work out.
That's so cool the way that artists can almost just read each other.
Yeah. It is super cool. There's that synchronicity that happens. Yeah, absolutely.
I really love this question from Kirby.
Kirby.
It's just really simple, but perfect. What advice would you give to new artists just starting out in the business?
That comes back to what I said earlier. And Kirby, consistency and time equals success, whatever you define success to be. If you want it badly enough, you'll get it, and just determine what you want. If like, just really, really focus on what you want. Ask God, the universe, whatever your inner subconscious, however you define it. What do you want? And see what the answer says, and go with that. And you're going to get tested. You're going to learn a lot of lessons. It's going to take time. And your greatest successes are you're usually never going to see them coming. You can prepare all you want to. You can set yourself up for success, but it'll happen in a way that you never conceived of. It's very likely that it will surprise you. And it's very highly unlikely that you will have expected the success to come in the way that it did,
Yep.
So, yeah. Yeah.
If you'd asked me 5 years ago, did I think that I'd have a successful YouTube channel? No, I thought that maybe I'd have a YouTube channel where I worked on vocal education, and I was gearing up and setting up for that and preparing for it, putting tons of time into it.
Yeah.
Did I think it would explode the way it has? No clue. Did I think that I'd be analyzing metal? That did not occur to me.
Right.
Where did that come from? So, total surprise. But at the same time, like what you said, it fell in line with what I've wanted to do all along.
Exactly. And if you leave yourself a little bit of room, if there's a little bit of ambiguity to what you want, there's going to be a lot of beautiful surprises along the way. Like if it's like you can have like specific stuff. Like if you want something really specific, it's going to be the more specific you get, the harder it's going to be. If you allow for a little bit of room for adjustment and flexibility, there's going to be things that you get that you didn't even know you wanted. And when you have them, you're like, oh, wow, this is awesome. I had no idea. So yeah, perfect example, your YouTube channel and you know, and that that opportunity falling in your lap and, you know, watching it grow. It's been amazing.
It's been so
1
cool.
million subscribers.
Oh, thank you again for your message on that video. That was so great.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure, an honor. Seriously.
Thank you. G.L. Schmidt says,
G.L. Schmidt.
you have a very DIY, do-it-yourself approach to creating music. Self-managed and with no record label, you pretty much create music on your own terms, and I think that is amazing. What would you consider to be the advantages of this approach when compared to the more traditional method of trying to get signed to a label? Are there any drawbacks? Would you suggest this route to an aspiring musician, or is this path not for everyone?
That's an excellent question. That's an excellent question because, you know, I think we wrestle with that every single day because there are things that I do for the band. There are things that Johnny does for the band. There are things that Ben does for the band, where as much as we try to delegate, we end up doing a lot on our own and having to do things on our own and having to put out fires, when we're running the business on our own. You know, we get to call the shots, which is great. I love being able to call the shots. I love having a hand in my own destiny. However, there are times, you know, and situations where a record label is the right choice or a partnership with another company is the right choice because you've reached the point where you cannot delegate any longer without losing your health and your sleep. And you're like, there's a certain point, like the only drawback is there may be a point where you plateau, where you do need the extra help, where you do need the record label. For some people, they don't need it. They got all the resources and the skills necessary in order to do what they need to do in order to sustain an unsigned situation. Some cases, there's major acts out there that started out with the record label, paid their dues the 15, 20 years that they were in the contracts with the different labels, and now are on their own. Slipknot, for example, perfect example of it's Shinedown. They're out on their own now with and they're calling the shots. So there's all kinds of ways that there's multiple paths to center. Let's put it that way. And I do thoroughly enjoy having a lot of say between the two of us, plus our business manager, plus a manager that we're currently working with right now. Backstop Management, Ben Weeks. These are all incredible allies in our team and assets to the team. And you have to be very careful with the deal that you get. Let's put it that way. You have to be very careful with the deal that you sign. And you should know the language. You should know what you're getting yourself into. Make sure that deal is sweet. Make sure that deal is worth it, that you're going to be getting something that you cannot do on your own.
Said from somebody who has a degree in music business.
Right.
And has been doing it for years.
Yes. Yes. So I would say when you're getting started, absolutely. Draw up this perfect, do as much as you possibly can on your own until it is absolutely impossible to do. And then if you make enough noise and the quality of your service and your product is good enough, people are going to come knocking. There's going to be expressed interest, and they're going to come to you with the deals. And then it's up to you whether you decide it's good enough or bad. And there's short-term deals that you can do, which are phenomenal. There are long-term deals that you can consider. And for us as a band, we're kind of in a limbo phase right now. We're writing a lot of new material right now. We've been writing tons of songs this year, and we're deciding which path we want to go on because we've been doing the DIY for such a long time, with help once in a while from a distribution company or like a short-term contract with a record label, and that's fine. But we usually still call the shots a lot. And, it'd be very interesting to see what's behind door number one as opposed to the door that's already opened. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Ooh. All right. I actually have a question from Julia Nylon, who do you know?
Yes, I saw her reaction video too, and I know that you were both on the live stream together, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm so glad she made the trip to come see you guys.
I know, and we talked about your voice a whole bunch, and so actually, I
awesome.
reached out to her because it's funny we were talking about you a bunch. So okay, there's a couple things here.
Okay,
big smiley face grin to start it off. Emoji. How long did it take to develop your stamina for distortion? And what are the telltale signs for you to rest your voice after a very intense song or gig?
Okay. Okay. So, excellent question.
I know.
Excellent question.
My vocal nerd heart is so happy about this question.
It took a long time, at least for the distortion. I remember, I was in a band in college, and my sweet boy, he's crying. I feel so sorry to anybody in the back. I'm not a deadbeat father, I promise. Yeah, my wife's he's okay. He just doesn't like to nap. He loves playing all the time, climbing on things all the time. He's all over the place. I love him so much.
But napping is hard.
I want to go hold him right now.
I know, it's so hard.
But we got to keep this rolling here. But we'll get to it. I'll get to it very soon. But back to the question. So, the telltale sign that I need to rest my voice is if I can't hit head voice. If I'm like, and I'm experiencing vocal swelling. There's an excellent, I forget the name of the ENT specialist that's out there, has an amazing YouTube video. It's very boring to most people and very fascinating to people like you and me. And and
is that Gupta,
the lovely lady that asked this question. So what's up?
Gupta? There's a really great
there's Gupta. Yeah, she's great. She's amazing. If we're referring to the same
I think so. LA based
specialist.
ENT.
No, this is an older gentleman, and he has two tests. He has the happy birthday to you test where you sing happy birthday through a really, really, closed embouchure. And if you can hit those, happy birthday to you, that tests your vocal swelling. And then the yo ho 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 ho, I did not no, but da 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 da. So, but that's those are tests that you can do on vocal
voice.
swelling. And if I'm having a hard time hitting head voice, that's when I know that I've gone a little too far with the vocal swelling. I mean, with the night before. So I put myself in vocal rest. If it's winter, scarves. The three pillars of vocal health. I always say this: vocal rest after long periods of activity. Just like if you went to the gym and you had a crazy workout, you got to give yourself a chance to rest. Hydration, getting your hydration right. Not drinking too much water, not drinking, not drinking enough water. All of those, make a huge difference. Making sure that you get that just right. For me, I know this might sound extreme, but I know that my body operates much better on a gallon of water with the right balance of potassium, magnesium, and sea salt.
That doesn't sound
sodium.
Extreme to me at all.
So a gallon of water a day.
And your electrolytes.
And you have to keep your electrolytes on that. That's it. Yeah. Because you can dilute yourself if you go too far with the hydration. And then feel dehydrated apparently, based on the most, recent science. And then sleep, which is hard to come by for a lot of musicians out there, for a lot of people out there. But that's why I have that in an order. 1, vocal rest. That's the first one. The second one, the silver pillar is hydration. The third pillar is sleep. The bronze pillar is sleep. So get as much sleep as you possibly can.
It exists somewhere in the future, Phil.
Somewhere. I'm trying to find it in the little nooks and crannies that I can find it. So is my wife. We're doing our best.
Right. Thank goodness for amazing partners that help us with with raising children.
Seriously, Lucy, baby, I love you. If you're watching this, she's doing what she needs to do right now, so we can have this conversation. So same to Kirk.
Kirk is doing that too, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think the other aspect of that question, I want to come back to that before
go
that.
for it.
Sorry, I didn't
you're good.
Interrupt your lauding of and kudos to your partner, Kirk. So much blessings to him. So I was in a band in college, and I tried distorted vocals and was messing my voice up. And my band told me, it's like, dude, stay away from that. Your voice is too good. Don't do that. And then when I graduated college, all of this knowledge that I've been working on, all this conscious attention that I've been putting towards my voice, all of that stress of college just went away when I graduated. And then all of the sudden, I had all this free time and relaxation. And it's almost as if everything, it felt like the Matrix. It's like, I know Kung Fu, you know? And I just all of a sudden knew how to false chord scream. And it because all of that stress, all of the knowledge that I had learned throughout the years had just kind of like simmered and marinated. And like there was like 4 or 5 weeks where I didn't work. I practiced with the band, the newly formed band, and took the money that I had saved up and just enjoyed my life and lived within my means and found this new superpower. And it was so cool. A lot of fun. And it came in handy for a lot of stuff that Small Town Titans does. It's used sparingly throughout. But and I did like distorted like high vocals and stuff like that. I was a big fan of Robert. I've been a big Robert Plant and Chris Cornell fan for a long period of time.
I hear that.
So I was able to do that, but not as consistently as when that point hit when I graduated college. That's when it all made sense. And then there was another time in like 2015 where I started experimenting much more with my mixed tone, and that expanded things much further and opened up a whole new door of consistency in my tone there. So it's been an ongoing process. Recently, the whole metal fry false chord stuff and tongue placement, that's been a thing that I've been experimenting with. And what's so fascinating is every time that I go into something like this, I end up finding something new that helps me with my original tone.
Oh,
it helps me learn something about the voice that I've been working on for all this time.
Right. So basically, you're saying that vocal growth doesn't just go, it's not a nice linear line. It's like jumps. It does little jumps and it'll plateau maybe for a little bit and then jump.
Yep, exactly.
That's cool.
Exactly. So excellent.
A follow-up question from Julia. Have you always had a broad, accessible range, or was this something you focused on in your vocal/stylistic development?
I would say both. I would say both, because there's a part of me that there's still an aspect of mystery to what's going on here.
Yeah.
I am compelled to make music. I'm compelled to make noise. I'm obsessed with making noise and teaching people how to do the same thing. Just like, and you share that obsession.
Yes.
And moving people. And at least for me, including myself, I love like seeing the creations, make an impact on people. It's an amazing thing. And you learn a lot about yourself too in that process. But I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. If you can repeat the question.
The range, development of it.
The development of the range. That's right.
Yeah.
So I think there was a moment, especially when my voice changed, and it like some voice changes occur over the course of a few weeks or a few months. Mine happened in a day. I went from like way up here to down here, and then all of a sudden it just kind of started going way lower, and I didn't know what to do with it. So my voice, my range was quite limited, at least for a while, because I wasn't very comfortable with hitting the high notes and not understanding what was going on. And I had a series of illnesses, pneumonia. I had a lung infection from a situation that occurred in swimming class with a scuba. I'm convinced it was a scuba tank that was not cleaned properly that caused this to happen. But after every single one of these situations, I found that I had more strength in my voice. That somehow that there was like an upgrade to that. And then on top of all the singing I was doing in the musicals, all the leads and all the lines that I was memorizing, all of the repertoire that I was learning in that experience, and then taking that to college and building upon that and learning new exercises, learning new ways to sing your E's and to control your vibrato and to extend the range, on top of what I was doing with my bands in college at the time, and then taking all of that and applying that towards this new project, Small Town Titans, and pushing the limit even further, and then taking that, and doing the bar gigs with other, going out as a solo. I had a duo act with the big in my fraternity, Carmen Forte. Huge shout out to you, sir. Love you, brother. And we played on the weekends while I was still a senior in college, and I made more money than most of my peers because of that. So it's like, it wasn't much, but it was something.
It was good for college.
I could drink Guinness at the bar as opposed to Miller Lite and afford it and still have money. So it was like,
well, yeah.
So there you go. Because of those gigs. So huge shout out. And I was doing all of these things at once, which I was getting paid to do what I love, which was make music, make noise, and also learn in the field about my voice and what it's capable of and how far I can push it. And there were times where I really pushed it to the limit and learned my limits and then grew from that and learned how to adapt. So, I think there's definitely something to be said about striking the balance between what you already have, working hard, but also working smart. Those three.
Yes.
So find what you're good at, because here's the thing. Justin Bieber has made a career out of a 2-octave range.
This is so true.
Think about that.
There are multiple really famous artists that it's all style.
Exactly. And that's another thing. So like if you don't have a 4 or 5 octave range, you can still make a huge impact. Look at Kurt Cobain, for example. Like that is not a trained voice. That is just raw talent. Look at the impact that band made.
Yep.
Look at a lot of bands out there that just have this raw talent and stay within a certain, have a limited palette, but do such an incredible job with it. It's amazing to watch.
Totally.
And so, so I would say, yes, I've developed a 4 or 5 octave range, on a good day, 5 octaves on a good day, 4 octaves every day, from obsession and knowing what I have and just screaming with it, because it's just like, it's like, it's just like, go, like, and don't stop. Yeah. It's one of those things. Yeah.
I have a final question that is actually from Kirk.
Awesome.
I know.
Very cool.
He said, congrats on the baby earlier this year, EJ. Which poses an interesting question. As a content creator, vocalist, and all-around badass, how do you balance dad life with work life? Where do you find time for you? And what plates do you decide to spin and to fall?
That's wow. That
right?
That hits very deep, and that's an excellent question. I'm still figuring out the answer to that question.
Right.
So,
in progress.
Sorry if I'm getting
I know, right? Because you're just like, that is an answer and a question all of a sudden.
Yeah. I think I'm still figuring out that the answer to that question. I spend as much time as I can with my son. As much time as I can. Being self-employed requires you to be on call. I just had a call with the guys about something having to do with our subscription service. Like we have a Titan Army membership where people get all kinds of perks. It's kind of like Netflix, but it's like, all Titan stuff, behind the scenes, instrumental tracks. It's really cool stuff. But
that is cool.
I'm responsible for managing that. I'm kind of like a project manager for So it's a lot. And
is that through Patreon?
No, we actually went. It
was a separate
used
thing.
to have a Patreon, and we decided to do our own thing, which was very, very labor intensive and required a lot of hands on deck.
I was gonna. That's a lot of fulfillment.
Yeah, but it's worth it. And here's the thing: I also had to fix it too. Like there was a lot of broken parts that I had to take and fix and make it self sustainable, and that was very challenging. So working through that, again, the hardest thing for me to justify is going out on the road. It better be worth it if I'm not going to be with my son and my wife and my dog. It better be worth it. And most of the time it is. Most of the time it is. Some days you want to go home. You want to cancel the next show, and you just want to be home. But I'm also like there for my wife and kid by being out on the road, because it all leads back to that. I'm fulfilling two destinies. The destiny of being a musician and wanting to go out there and make a living at what I love to do, and also having that living, what I'm making financially, benefit the two people in my life that mean the most to me. So it's tough. That's a very tough balance, and there is no balance.
It's not happening.
There's no
yet.
balance. It's and I don't think there will ever be a balance necessarily. Here's a perfect way to look at it. Dave Grohl. He flew over the Pacific twice in 72 hours, I think less. So that way he could play a show in Australia and be at the father-daughter dance for his daughter's father-daughter dance in California and go back for another show. They moved a show and still honored all the tickets, and he was still on tour in the middle of that. That's what you have to do. You're going to lose sleep over it. But if there are certain things in my son's life and I'm in the middle of tour, I'm going to be there.
Yep.
I'm not compromising that.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna miss baseball games or soccer games or whatever this kid's into, but for the big moments, the graduations, the weddings, the birthdays that matter, I just, which should be all of them for that matter. There's obviously going to be times, maybe there's times that I'm not home for Christmas. Maybe there's times that I'm not home for Thanksgiving, and that hurts. That really hurts. There's times that I'm not going to be home for family gatherings. There's times that I've already done that, where I've sacrificed time with family in order to be out on tour. A lot of us do that, and I think it's a huge thing, a huge topic that's not talked about a lot, is the mental health of touring musicians, especially now with how expensive things are. This was a very fun tour, but there was a lot of expenses that are much higher than they were even 3 years ago. Gas, hotels, all that stuff. So it requires sacrifice. It requires sacrifice, and there's no balance. And if I ever find that balance, I cherish it for a moment. If I momentarily find that balance, oh my gosh, I hold on to that really, really, really tightly, because I know that balance is I'm going to be right back to tap dancing on the tightrope. Shout out to Crowbot for that amazing lyric and song, Tap Dancing on a Tightrope. They're from our area too. That's what I'm constantly doing, because it's going everywhere. And so the balance is struck momentarily, and you cherish it. That's what I would say. It's an excellent question. Got me on the verge of tears. So thank you, Kate.
Right?
So yeah.
Oh, wow. Hearts.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's going to basically get to almost all of our questions for today. The last one I have for you is, how can we support you in Small Town Titans? It sounds like you have a great program with benefits if you want to be a super fan of the band. Tell me.
If you want to be a super fan of the band, you can give us anywhere between $5 to $100 a month. The more you give, the more you get. It's part of our Titan Army membership. If you go to smalltowntitans.com /join, you can look at the different packages that we have. We have a running 30-day free trial for the captain level. So there's captain, colonel, general, commander, and Titan. So yeah. So it's fun. We have a lot of fun with it. So we have a bunch of stuff in the Titan Vault, behind the scenes footage, instrumentals, all this other amazing stuff that you can't get anywhere else. And it's a lot of fun. We post a lot in there, yeah, and it's a perfect way. It's a perfect gift for your Small Town Titans fan, your music fan, if they're looking for stuff behind the scenes for Small Town Titans. And if you want to get a dog tag or get the shirt and the swag that comes with the high ranking and all the other benefits that come with the higher ranks, go for it. That's available too. So running 30-day free trial on the captain tier, and then all the other stuff that's going on there. So that's the best way to support us. Also, listen to our music. Listen to The Ride, comment on our videos, share them. If it made an impact on your life, please tell people about it because we're not stopping anytime soon. And we'd love to share it and connect with as many people as possible.
I would throw in there, recommend Small Town Titans for more visibility too. If you know reactors that haven't done that yet, then hop on that, because I really do think that helps with exposure to lots of bands.
Absolutely. And throughout the decades too. Like, you know, there's people that haven't even heard of Tool or their first album, and like all of a sudden they're being introduced to it. It's amazing.
I've been in this boat so many times being introduced to Dio. That was like one of the big what moments of my YouTube journey so far. Yeah. But oh man, I really, really, that introduction to you was awesome, and I'm excited. I'm excited for more of your music.
Thank you so much.
Is there any other thing you'd like to add of come listen to this new thing? I don't, you mentioned you're working on new music, but I'm guessing there's not a planned release date, right?
Yeah, we're keeping that hush for now.
Okay.
We're keeping that under wraps. There's a lot of music that's coming your way. We just have to determine the best way to go about it. So we're just like, you know, we're gathering, and then there's going to be a big pizzazz. There's going to be it's you'll see, you'll hear soon enough.
Amazing. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, especially knowing that this is time from our sons. It's just been so delightful to spend that time with you.
Yeah, this has been incredible. This has been an amazing conversation, Elizabeth. Thank you for having me. Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.